Oh, wait a minute. Are we live stream yet? No, not
No.
yet. Okay.
Let's see.
But these are golf ball caddies, and he makes them up on his 3D machine. So this is one for the Omegas. He has one in purple and one in gold. And I'm going to introduce these to all of the chapters that have golf tournaments and could be part of their gift bag. Here's one with an Omega ball in it. You know what I mean? So
Right.
he can do it for the Divine Nine. He can do it for any organization, churches, anybody, man.
Well, that's good. I need to get something done for my organization.
Yeah, well, you come up with a design of what you want. Trust me, it could be done. It could be done. So I'm helping him to establish the foundation of the business, and then he's running with
Did
it.
it work?
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, I see you. So then when your name come up, click on your over to the right. Admit. Okay. We okay?
Good afternoon.
I'm here. Hello, hello, hello.
Good afternoon.
Good to be here. Mr. Anderson has an intro for us. I'll let him go on there. How you doing?
I'm well. Thanks for having me late.
Herman, you ready?
I'm just a minute. Vivian got kicked off. I'm trying to let her back in.
Okay.
Our producer.
Well, while we're doing that, so good to see you, ma'am, and thank you very much for coming on.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
You're going to be our star for the day.
Okay.
And once Mr. Anderson gets through introductions, we will. I'll open up with you.
Okay.
You can give a little background.
Okay.
About yourself, and but we want you to gear in on your talk today about how your services will be able to help veterans and their families and other people, to prepare for the inevitable.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you going to ask questions?
Yeah, we'll ask you questions.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll ask you questions. Trust me. Okay.
Okay.
All right. And now Mr. Anderson is still trying to get us back on. Something happened. We got kicked. Production got kicked out.
Okay.
No worries.
But
How do I do that?
in regards to our personal situation, I'll be in touch with you next week.
Okay.
As I said to you before, we had some major water issues here.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and we got to move out. So as soon as we get the approval date for the move out, and then we move out, then we'll be able to be away from this. Instead of on us.
I get it.
But
I clicked on your name. Do I need to go back to the doctor?
What part of town do you live on?
I live in East Cobb.
So off 285, is that like going towards 75?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And my office is actually in Tucker at 285 in Northlake.
All right. Oh, so you go straight out 285.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I read your bio. Interesting, extremely interesting background. Not a Southern girl, but
Well, I am. Tennessee, Texas, Alabama.
Texas. Yeah, that's
right. Although that's not in my bio.
No, that's not in your bio. No, bio. That kind of thing. Well, I'm a South Carolina guy, and Mr. Anderson is a Georgia guy. And,
okay.
From Charleston, South Carolina. And,
okay. Excellent.
And went to Tuskegee and retired from the Army after a 26-year career. And my queen and I owned a engineering and construction firm for 14 years.
Okay.
But now we're completely retired.
Completely retired.
Done.
As opposed to kind of sort of retired, right?
We're done. What we do now is what we've always done, but we're doing it more at another level, is to provide as much support to our children and our community, things like that, you know?
Right.
That's what we want to do. So I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. Mr. Anderson's still trying to get us back online.
So is this going on Facebook Live? Is that where it is?
It's going to be on Facebook Live. It's going to be
Yes,
on
I got
YouTube Live, all the social medias, etc. Even whatever time we get on, you're still going to be the star of the show.
Okay.
And your clients and your family members and everybody will be able to see it.
Okay.
Because it's on our, I guess you would say, repository of previous shows.
Okay.
Just
No
to
problem.
give you a little background, this particular segment is under the WCEG Network, which was founded by
it says ask to unmute.
she had a
Ask
dream.
to unmute.
The dream of providing information to the community. So WCEG Talk Radio was founded, but it now is evolved into WCEG Network, where there are several other hosts on under the network. There are religious section, business section, educational sections, sports sections, veterinary sessions,
Well, okay, I just did it.
policy making sessions. Everyone, each of those segments have a host,
Okay.
All right.
and they're on at
All
different times during the day and week.
Okay.
And they're also archived on our WCEG network page under those social media outlets.
Okay.
So our production manager is a retired military, Ms. Vivian Gray, and she provides us excellent support in regards to getting that information out.
Okay.
And the entire umbrella is under the visionary dream of Miss Penny Rogers. So that gives you a little snapshot of who we are and what we try to do.
Excellent.
We took care of our technical difficulties, so we officially on the air. We are live streaming. I am Herman Anderson, along with Anthony Aiken, the co-host of Veterans Today, and we welcome our guest, Ms. Wilson. And let me do just our introduction, then we'll continue this conversation. You are listening to WCEG Network. WCEG Reddit Talk Radio. You can click on live stream, watch us live on your smart TV, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. You can also watch us at WCEG Network. We are the worldwide community empowerment group. We speak live in the community. And our disclaimer is the topics and opinion are those of the show host and guests, not WCEG Network. Thank you very much. And Anthony, we will continue.
Well, first of all, Herman, as always, it's such a pleasure to see you, my friend. We've been at this now a blessed 7 years. And we have a passion for what we do. And that passion is to speak truth into the community. And under the guidance of our God above, we've been able to do that. So it's good to see you. But Herman, more than that, today we have an outstanding guest. Not only she has a tremendous background, but she brings passion to her particular profession also. We have with us Esquire Shannon Wilson, founding attorney for Legacy Legal LLC. And we want to say welcome to you, ma'am. How are you doing today?
I'm well, and thank you for having me. I appreciate this.
I want to tell you what, we put you up on a pedestal of knowledge. and Herman and I know that we've been blessed to bring on outstanding people from the various backgrounds to provide us information because we speak truth into the community for our veterans and their families. So before we get into the meat of our show today, Herman and I and our guests would like to know, who is Shannon Wilson?
Excellent. That's a great question. So I am an estate planning attorney. I'm based here in the Metro Atlanta area. And it is always, always, always my pleasure and honor to convey information first and foremost, because I know that so many times people just don't know what they don't know. And so it's my honor to instill the information in people so that they can do better. We do better when we know better. And one of my passions is helping people. One of my passions is helping my family and community extended from that. So estate planning just ended up being a natural fit for me because I don't think about it like talking about death, like so many people think, right? I think about it as in instilling life and creating legacies. That's why the name of my firm is Legacy Legal. So I am your passionate guide along the way. I work side by side, hand in hand with my clients to enhance them individually and therefore impacting their communities on a larger scale.
Well, you know, as I said before, we speak truth into the community. And Herman joins me in saying that every guest we bring on the show could bring value to the community. And I know that you're going to add value to my family personally, because my wife and I have discussed utilizing Legacy Legal for our estate planning. So we hope that today's discussion with you would enlighten others to consider estate planning. Do you agree with that, Herman?
I totally agree with that. And we, over the years, we have presented a lot of information to the community. And I think I know we have made a difference. And you and I both are veterans. We also frat brothers.
Yeah.
So we have people that follow us, and as a result of what we have put out, have got good results dealing with particular veterans, dealing with the VA. As most people know, it's the VA has a lot of red tape to deal with. So we are looking forward to getting more knowledge and helping more people.
And well, thank you, Herman. Ms. Wilson, you know, now it's time to eat. Let's get fed. So,
Okay.
you know, Herman and I are good Southern boys. I'm a shrimp and grits guy.
Okay.
So right now, you know, our listeners want to know, and you can start off any way you like to, but why is this thing so important, and why should they be doing this now?
It is important and it's critical to everybody. Most people, especially in communities of color, especially among our veteran community, they think they don't need to plan anything. They think that what they have in place is enough. You know, talking about the red tape at the VA, all of the veterans go through some sort of very minimal planning, especially if they're about to be deployed or something like that. And they think, well, you know, when I was enlisted, I went and they gave me this form and they said, this will take care of your family. Well, that's not good enough, right? It's not good enough while you're in the service. It's especially not good enough once you retire or otherwise leave the service. So planning, estate planning is critical to everybody from the time they turn 18. 18 being the operative age where mom, dad, guardian can no longer make decisions for you. So most people think about estate planning as only for once you pass away, but that couldn't be further from the truth. There is a very much living component that needs to be put in place. For instance, what happens and who makes your decisions for you financially if you are in the predicament where you cannot speak for yourself or you're unavailable, right? Who makes those decisions? Nobody, unless you have a plan in place that says and specifically authorizes someone to do that. Who makes decisions for you medically if you are in a medical scenario where you cannot speak for yourself? Nobody, again, unless you have the documents in place that say, this is the person that will speak for me medically. So all of that goes into estate planning. The third part, which is the part that most people are probably more familiar with, but they just don't know what all it means, is having a will in place. right? We all work too hard day in and day out to accumulate stuff. And I use the word stuff lightly because we all have different layers and levels of stuff in our lives, right? But if a person goes through all of that, living life, living the dream, whatever it looks like for them, and having plans in place in their heads for what they want to happen with all of that stuff when they pass away, but they neglect to put a document in place that indicates their desires, then they've done all of that for nothing, because the document is what is the reigning document. I love to say, when you neglect to plan, you plan to neglect. So when you neglect to put those documents in place, you are in essence neglecting those who you leave behind. You know, death is one of those things that everybody takes differently. It takes on different values depending on the person, depending on the community, depending on the family scenario. But one thing is for sure, it impacts everybody in some way, shape, form, or fashion. And so having the plan in place so that upon your passing, people can grieve without having to worry about the business aspect of your passing, that is what we do when we're talking about having an estate plan in place.
Herman, you know what that sounds like for us? That sounds just like an operational order. You know what I mean? I mean, if you think about it, Ms. Wilson, that's the way we military folks think about, having rules of engagements, operational orders. And we have those things in place we follow. Mm-hmm. So, right now, when I just listened to you again, exactly what you're telling us is you got to have an operational order in place, from the medical directive to someone's going to speak to you when you're incapacitated. Make sure you got a will.
Right.
Make sure you understand that, you're trying to avoid a deal with probate, all of these things like that. Because if they don't have these operational orders in place, man, I mean, I've gone through it, and Herman's going through it. Just going through probate is a nightmare.
Absolutely. It's a nightmare when you know what you're doing. So imagine someone not having a clue where to even begin, going down there. They're already enveloped in the fact that somebody has passed away, or enveloped in the fact that somebody hasn't passed away, but they're still living, but they're incapacitated. They can't speak for themselves, right? They've been in an accident, or they've suffered some injury, or they've had some medical condition, or just age, right? And they can no longer speak for themselves. Or the other side of that is they speak for themselves, but they don't make the best decisions that will help them, right? So they really need someone to advocate for them, right? Putting these documents in place ahead of time so that when it gets to that point, you've already put that, like you said, operational order. You said, this is how I want things to work, right? Because the opposite of that is not having it in place. And that person that you would want making your decisions for you is not the person that the probate court says, okay, this is who can make your decisions for you, right? Nobody wants to be in a position that the last person that they would have named is now speaking for them. So put it in place ahead of time so that, those around know, and quite frankly, you don't have to involve the courts. I'm an attorney. I don't like going to court, right? Nobody likes going to court. I was on a call earlier with another attorney colleague of mine who said, I hate doing that. I hate getting all dressed up, going down to court, parking in the garage. He's like, that part alone is enough. So I agree with him wholeheartedly on that, right? Nobody likes going to court, even attorneys. So if you can put the documents in place ahead of time to avoid that, then do it.
One point I would like to emphasize is, particularly at my age, I'm a Vietnam veteran, and I'm a few years older than my buddy Anthony. So at this point in life, I have family members, I have veteran friends, and just classmates. We are all passing away, and the majority of the cases is like Anthony said. The last part of the operation plan is like your will, how the estate should be handled. That is in a lot of cases just disaster. And I just want everybody listening to understand that, in whether it's the husband or the wife or whoever passes away first, the person that you are leaving behind, if you don't have a will, and also specify in that will where and who shall inherit the stuff, then you open a can of worms, and a lot of cases nobody inherit.
Right. You're right. You are absolutely right on that. And in some cases, even just a will is not enough. There are many scenarios where people need more than a will. If they have assets, if they have minor children, if they plan to leave a legacy, beyond their noses, right? Some people say that rich people plan for Saturday night, but wealthy people plan for 3 generations from now.
Exactly.
Right? I don't know if this is a Bible-based organization, but the word even tells us, we plan for our children's children.
Yeah.
Right. And so doing that ensures that your legacy will be left. Now, something you just said, Herman, whether one person goes first or the other person, or the fact that it can be a mess. We can't avoid all of those messes because let's face it, every family has their scenarios, right? But what you can do is put it in place so that your loved ones or whomever you're leaving behind, at least they're not questioning what you would have wanted, right? So many times families fall out because, oh, well, she told me this and she told me that, and she didn't tell me that, or where'd you hear that? All of those things. Well, if you have it in writing, right? At least they're not going to fall out over disagreeing on what you would have wanted because you have put it in place.
One thing I think may be a hindrance to some veterans, because the military somewhat makes you very, very comfortable. Every military person, I don't care what branch of service you in, has the opportunity to go to the Judge Advocate Corps office. And what do they offer a military family? Wills, and at no cost. So they can get it for free. So as Herman mentioned earlier about the wills, maybe they just feel comfortable with just having a will, but not knowing the depth of what you're bringing to the table that solidifies the will, because again, it's that operational order where the will is just one part of the entire packet under estate planning. And so I just want to mention that and see if you had any comments on that.
Absolutely. Yes, you are correct. Anyone can go to JAG, and JAG is going to do a blanket, one size fits all generic will. All right. And like I said earlier, okay, good enough. You hear people say good enough for government work. Yeah. Right. It's good enough for government work, but it's not going to fit all. Right. Any more than clothes that say one size fit all truly fit all. And so that will, that blanket generic, not even truly state specific will that JAG is going to do is not going to be sufficient for most people. Why? Because most people have more than blanket generic one size fit all lives. And so having the additional documents that talk to each other, and I'm not knocking JAG at all, but they don't know how the documents talk to each other. They don't know how the documents talk to each other in Georgia versus South Carolina versus New York versus New Jersey. They just don't know, right? And it's not their job to educate people on the intricacies and the ins and outs and the details of that.
Well,
so
let me ask you this. Let's say we have a real energetic Herman Anderson out there. And Herman said, you know what? I'm going to go over to Staples. I'm going to go someplace else. And I want to get this software package that says estate planning. And I'm going to sit down with a nice cup of coffee, sit down with my wife, and we're going to come up with an estate plan out of this software package. Is that equivalent for a veteran, or should they talk with a professional like you? Because again, that's a blanket type scenario. They may say, click on this particular state to put it together, But
Mhm.
how is that equivalent to Herman Anderson going to Staples, Herman Anderson coming to Attorney Wilson for the same thing?
It is, so the going to Staples and getting that packet and spending $5.58 on it is the equivalent of going to JAG and saying, I need my estate plan. They're going to give you a blanket generic one, and you're going to fill it out as best as you can, going through with your cup of coffee or whatever your beverage of choice is while you're sitting at the computer, right? It's not going to explain to you what you're doing. It's certainly not going to explain to you what A, B, C, D, E mean and how they connect to F, G, H, I. It's not going to do that. And it's not going to take into consideration the intricate details of you, right? Do you have bank accounts and life insurance and stuff, right? Do you collect anything? Do you have any family heirlooms? Do you have all of these things? It's not going to take all that into consideration. It's not going to take into consideration that home that you have. It's not going to take into consideration whether or not that home has a mortgage and how that impacts things. It's not going to take into consideration whether you have minor children and if you want to care for them, should you pass away while they're minors. It's not going to take into consideration that special needs adult that you have in your life that you've been caring for, and they're going to need your care from here on out. It's not going to take into consideration your retirement. It's not going to take into consideration all of those things that, when you look at them big picture, makes your estate plan.
One, I would like to add to that is the human factor and the emotion factor. I know I'm a techie, I'm an organized guy, but I don't like to deal with that stuff, but I force myself to deal with it. And when you go through it with your family, it's a lot of time it's gonna ruffle some feathers, because you just have to be honest and put the facts on the table, put your feeling on the table, and it's better to do that before you pass away than after.
Right. Right. And you can't do it after you pass away. If you don't do it ahead of time, then you're leaving your family to do it for you.
Yeah.
And, if you've left your family to do it for you, then the chances are they're not going to do it. They're certainly not going to do it the way that you would want. So putting a plan in place ahead of time, the earlier the better. Why is the earlier the better? Because you can always change and edit and update that plan as life continues, right? I always tell people, as the D's in life, which are death, disability, disqualification, divorce, and potential dismemberment, as those things collide with the F's in life, which are faith, family, fitness, fun, and finances, those are always great times to revisit your estate plan, right? It can never be too early to put a plan in place, but it can certainly be too late. Too late is, I was walking down Peachtree at lunchtime and I got hit by a MARTA bus and woke up 8 months later at Grady Hospital. Well, it's too late to put the plan in place then, because who has been managing everything for you while you were in that coma?
Well, you know what? Whew. You got me trembling right now, because this past week, just talking about how life can change so quickly. Herman and I have a fraternity brother in my hometown, Charleston, South Carolina, 26-year-old son. And they were together having dinner to talk about his next phase in life, leaving Charleston, going to Quantico Bay, Virginia, to be in the military. And the father said, we had the greatest 16 hours together that he'd ever had. And the son got up and walked away and says he was going to the restroom, and turned around and looked at his father and said, Dad, you know I love you. And the father said, I love you too. And he turned around and one step, dropped dead. 26 years old. Life was gone in a snapshot. So that's why, and I'm soon to be 73. And, I have wills. I've always had wills. And I try to keep them tight. But as I get older in this fourth quarter of life, and same with Herman, there are medical issues, the mental kind of stuff, all those things you got to consider while you're in good health, to make sure that when that time does come, not only do you have your DD Form 214 around, but you also have something else in place to make sure that those behind you
right,
not going to go through a nightmare.
right, right. Planning for them. When you neglect to plan, you plan to neglect. And yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that DD 214, because veterans know that one simple form, 1-page form wraps up all of your benefits, right? Your entire military career, whether it was 5 days or 25 years, it is all on that form, right? And even that is included in an estate plan, right? I have so many veterans that say, oh, I want to be buried at the veteran cemetery, or I want my veteran spousal and burial benefits and all of those things. Okay, well, make sure you have that DD 214, make sure we've attached it, make sure we've put that information in your documents so that people know.
Woo! Can't say it any better.
Well, that is true. And actually, I have a nonprofit veteran group. My veteran group is Veteran Helping Veterans, and we are 10 years old. And just this week at a meeting, someone passed out a document, and the name of it is "What My Family Should Know for Getting Your Affairs in Order." And it lists all the information that you mentioned. And it actually is a document that can be printed and people can sit down with estate planner and do it. Actually, we did ours in pencil, then went over it and then met with someone to make it official. But it's like a workbook, and that's good information. I just want to let the listener know that this is available.
Yeah, that's great. And I've seen that document that you're talking about. And I tell people that's an excellent starting point, but don't let that be the be all that ends all. That is not, that document alone is not good enough, right? If something happens and you can't speak for yourself financially and someone needs to go into the bank and manage your accounts, the bank is going to look at you with that document and say, what is this? This is not acceptable. This is not good enough. You need a power of attorney, a legal document that says this is who I'm naming. If you find yourself in the predicament in the hospital and you can't speak for yourself and somebody shows up with that form, it's not good enough. They need an advance directive that authorizes you to speak for them, right? If somebody passes away and they go to the probate court with that book is not good enough, or that form, it's not good enough. You actually have to have a last will and testament signed, notarized, witnessed, an official legal document in place, right? And for some people, the will alone is not enough, right? They need to have, especially for people who want some privacy. And many of our veterans live their lives very privately, right? It's very open on one hand, but it's also very private on another, right? And so they don't want to have to go to the probate court, right? Is there a way around that? There's a way to avoid the long nature of it, and there's a way to create your legacy outside of probate. But you should never go to probate without a will. The other document that I'm saying that most people need, that they just don't realize, or they think it's only for the rich and wealthy, is a trust, right? And so many times, especially our veterans, they have assets, they have benefits, they have things that they have accumulated that they don't want to just go to the state, or they don't want them to just go to Goodwill or whatever organization, right? They want to bless their families or their loved ones or business partners or whomever with it. And they want to do that in a specific manner. So how do you do that? You have a trust in place in addition, not by itself, in addition to the will, right? That says, now this is what happens with my shoes and clothes. This is what happens with all of my Army medals. This is what happens with all of my recognition. This is what happens with my firearms. This is what happens with the fur coats. This is what happens with the artwork from all of my travels around the world. This is what happens with my bank account balance. This is what happens with that Navy Federal account. This is what happens with that USAA account. This is what happens with, you know, whatever it is attached. You outline all of that in the trust. And then your will says, leave everything in my trust.
From what you were saying, I take it you have dealt with quite a few veterans. And
that's why she's here.
It starts with the DD-214. When we do claims, a lot of veterans have no idea what that DD-214 is. So it's your ticket to even get in the system.
Correct.
And then and a lot of us veterans, we have the attitude that we're gonna do it ourselves. And we always tell, Anthony and I tell people to get a professional, like with Claims Veteran Service Organization. And I feel like that applies to estate planning, financial, rather than what do Anthony call us? Hard head, being a hard head.
Knucklehead.
Knuckleheads.
Knucklehead, yeah. I mean, just pay a professional. It's not going to be free, and you're not going to get good results if you do it yourself. So
I mean, that's a great lead-in. That's a great lead-in, because I wanted Attorney Wilson to let our listeners know that there are different levels involved with the estate planning based on your scenario.
Correct.
And based on that also comes into the costs. So can you elaborate a little bit to let veterans know, because some of them on fixed income, some are just on Social Security. So let them know that it's affordable and what options do they have.
Yeah, it is. I like to tell people, you can't afford not to do it. Right. And on the other end of that is you get what you pay for. Right. Everything that's free is not for me. Neither is it for you or the next person. Right. You get what you pay for in that. And most of the time, whatever that service is, it's not going to be quality. It's not going to give you that personal connection that Herman was mentioning. And it's not certainly going to give you all of the information that you need. So what I do, I meet with people. And by the way, anyone watching this is entitled to a complimentary consultation with me. We schedule the consultation. I get to know you a little bit, get to know your family, get to know your goals. What would you want in estate planning, and what's prompting you to follow up, right? Most of the time people say something like, well, I know I've been needing to do it, I just never have, right? Perfect. That's a perfect segue. But I look at your family unit, I look at your structure, and I look at your goals. Right? And my plans are based on what you have and what you need. Everyone doesn't need a trust. I recognize that, right? But everyone needs a will, right? Sometimes people do have documents already in place that are sufficient, but for the most part, they're not, because the documents talk to each other. So I work with individuals. So it depends on whether you are single, whether you are married, whether you have minor children, whether you own real property, whether you're a business owner, right? Business ownership brings a whole other level of incentive to have an estate plan in place. Because one, what happens with that business if something happens to you? And two, the tax benefit of putting your estate plan in place as a business owner is now what you spend on your estate plan, what you invest in your estate plan is a business expense. And I know so many veterans, they step out of the military and they start their own business. They're entrepreneurs, right? And so having that business in place adds a whole other level of planning, especially when it comes to your estate. So my investment schedule looks like whether you're an individual and have minor children or not, or whether you're a married couple and have minor children. And then it changes whether or not you own real property, own a business. Those are the things that go into account when we're talking about whether you need a trust as well as the basic plan. So the basic plan includes the power of attorney, the healthcare document, and the last will and testament. And then my extended plans include trust. And there are different types of trusts that we could spend a whole another hour talking about. I'm not going to go into all the details on that, but it depends on whether you need a trust as well. And the price structure just kind of fluctuates from that.
So for family, a husband, a veteran and a wife, are we talking one estate plan, or will both have separate estate plans under one umbrella?
So individuals put an estate plan in place, right? For instance, for a married couple with minor children, we'll just go there. Married couple, minor children. Each of them need a power of attorney. Each of them need a healthcare document. Each of them need a will. If they reach such other scenarios, then they probably would have a joint trust, right? And then each of them need the documents in place for standby guardianship, right? What happens for guardianship of those minor children. So the plan itself is individual, but there are certain components of it that are mixed together. So when I'm working with a married couple, like you just said, I'm working with them as a couple, but certain components of the plan are individualized.
Why don't you tell our listeners how to get in touch with you? And that would be your website, your email, and your phone number.
Sure. I can be reached. My website is legacylegalatl.com. Again, that's legacy, LEGACY, legal, LEGAL, My email address is Shannon, SHANNON, at legacylegalatl.com. And my phone number is 678-278-5463. I'm also on Facebook at Legacy Legal ATL. And like I was saying earlier, anyone who's watching this, getting the information from this, feel free to contact me. Let me know that you saw me here. Remind me so that I know, and I can put you into one of our complimentary consultation slots.
Herman, she's awesome.
Definitely.
She's awesome. She's awesome.
Thank you, gentlemen.
You know, I mean, we were all geared up. You know, Herman and I and Miss Greer and Miss Rogers, we always talk about, you know, who we're going to bring on. And we're always thinking outward, you know, and we sit down and think about it and discuss it, and we list it out. I mean, we knew you were coming on 3 weeks ago, you know, because I was excited after meeting with you, my wife and I said, you know, this is something veterans need to know. They really need to know this, because we know of many veterans that have left, and they're putting together GoFundMe accounts.
Yeah.
Because they can't pay for anything.
Right.
You know, so
that breaks my heart. That breaks my heart, but I see it every day. And you know, people often ask me, do I do probate? I don't enjoy probate. And so I try not to do things that don't bring me joy. However, I love doing the estate planning on the front end, so that all of that probate portion on the back end is drastically reduced, sometimes completely eliminated. Again, you can't do it without planning, and it has to be strategic, and you have to plan accordingly. I don't know, can y'all see my shirt? My shirt says, plan first, play later.
love it.
Right?
That is great.
I love that. Let me write
You
that down.
have to plan.
Send us a t-shirt. Compliments of that. I love that.
Plan first, play later. You got to plan so that you can play later.
Play later.
Well,
I like that.
I do too. And as Anthony said, with me and him and Vivian being military guys, we follow our orders, and time is running out. So what I want to say for WCEG Network, we are veterans today. WCEG Network has programs weekly, daily. I encourage you to listen to some of the other programs that deal with empowering the community. And also on Veterans Today, since we have started, Anthony and myself, we've been co-hosts, we always invite guests that empower the community. We love helping veterans and their families, and so we thank you. And you have any closing remarks?
No, other than it has been a pleasure being here with you all today. It is always, always my pleasure and honor to educate people on the importance and the value of estate planning. I have a special place in my heart for veterans. My significant other is a veteran, and this is something I did forget to indicate. I always offer a discount on my investment plan to veterans. So keep that in mind. It is absolutely paramount. You may think that you have something in order, and you might. Congratulations. But it's always worth getting the knowledge and information to know if what you have is sufficient and if it will actually cover your family in the way that you want it to be covered.
Well, I actually believe in updating it. As life is a journey, and everything is a moving target. So
that's right.
Yeah, I believe in updating them.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Attorney Wilson. I think you have added a lot of value to veterans today. And please tell all of your clients and your associates that you can be seen on Facebook Live and go to YouTube under WCEG Network, and you'll be able to see a segment of the show, be on Facebook. So again, from my perspective and Herman's perspective and Ms. Greer and our founder, Ms. Rogers, thank you from the bottom of our hearts for coming on and providing truth into the community.
You're very welcome. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Herman, what
Yes,
a
sir.
great show. Miss Wilson was spot on.
Exactly. It like I said, I'm dealing with it a lot personally. I'm dealing with it a lot with family and friends. So it's something that was on my mind.
Yeah, man, it's good. You know, we don't go through the space and time alone.
No.
We don't go through the space and time alone. We go through as a community, as a family, and if it's woe be on anybody that doesn't look back to uplift. I just don't understand that.
Yeah.
Because none of us, anything that we've accomplished, have done it alone. And what Ms. Wilson did today is to provide us knowledge from her years of experience, and her willing to give back to help others. I mean, that statement, plan first and play later. Whoa, that's powerful, man.
I love this shirt.
That's powerful.
Well,
yeah, I have another one that says, plan your estate or lose it. And then I have just my Legacy Legal branded shirts too. I tend to rotate them.
Well, there's I won't call it my partner. Call it bring light is what I'm talking about, is wealth creation. Because to get back down to it, what you said earlier is rich people plan for Saturday night, wealthy people plan for 3 generations. And
right.
And we're not doing a good job of it.
We don't have a wealth mindset.
No.
And there's no reason why we can't.
I agree with you. And it's, just listening to some past discussions about our people in general, it's totally unfortunate that we were taken away from the motherland and brought many, many thousands of miles away to a place that was totally foreign to us. And we literally had to regenerate ourselves because we were given names. We had to learn a new language, forget our customs, forget everything that was part of our DNA from birth. And to come to a nation and to bring all of the talents and skills that we've been given. I mean, educated people, inventors, and, innovators and entrepreneurs. And it's just dreadful that even now in these current times that people are still struggling. I don't understand when someone says to me or to you or anyone else that, hey, that happened 400 years ago. You need to move on. Well, it didn't happen to you, so it's easy for you to say that because you've been privileged. I'm not being able to fight for everything that you need, to say, I'm not an affirmative action. Everything is on my merit. I learned just like you. I put my pants on like you. We're fathers, we're husbands, we're uncles, we're nephews, And we've continued to struggle. What I think you're dealing with is that you wonder if we ever become in power, would we do to you what you've done to us? And that's where that fear factor comes in.
Yep, it's
The
the
fear factor. When you see a woman clutching her pocketbook in an elevator and you're in there and like, you're not even thinking about this person. But in the back of her mind, she has been programmed that you see a black male, there's trouble. If you see a black male with hair and beard with a hood on, that's trouble.
Yeah.
But they don't think about the white collar crime. All right?
Mhm.
But the mafia is back in the early 30s and 40s and suit and ties with machine guns.
Well,
Yeah. Because
Yeah,
those were
it's true.
that was their family.
That was their family. So they don't, oh, the Kennedy family. Oh, they're a great family. But do you know they were big in Prohibition? They were running liquor. They were Irish.
But that's no, Anthony. You know what happened on with us a lot of time. I bring up something and it trigger you, and it works just fine. And we just ran out of time, so we go close.
Okay, no problem. But it's good. Ms. Wilson, you understand our passion.
I do. I appreciate it.
Thank you very
I
much.
appreciate it.
Take care.
All right. Thanks, gentlemen. Y'all have a fantastic weekend.
Let me tell you that. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.